So, The Brutalist. It's one of those films, the second you hear about it, you know that you have to see it. Just from basically the fact that it's a 3 hour, 35-minute film following a life story, that alone hooked me. For some reason, that style of film excites me. You guys know how I felt about Oppenheimer, and how, for me, it didn't drag for a second, and how it was a very dialogue heavy film. The similarities are of Oppenheimer and The Brutalist, for the most part, stop there. The Brutalist is a completely original idea, not based on a true story, from Brady Corbet and his wife, who wrote it together. He directed it. When I saw the teaser for The Brutalist, it was hard to be sold. It was hard to be sold on what exactly you were going to be sucked into, and I love that. Like, I liked the idea of being able to go into it pretty empty-handed. This movie rules in so many ways. From the opening 5 minutes, when I saw Adrien Brody's pure emotion on screen, I knew this was going to be for me. It's really hard to even tell what part of this movie worked the most, because the cinematography and directing is easily some of the best I've seen this decade so far. The main cast gives performances that you feel for them in this journey. Specifically, Adrien Brody and Pearce were both great here, but in a very different way individually. I think I honestly love this. I think I really love the scale of this. Like, before I even saw the film, I heard Godfather comparisons from, just the scale of this film, and this film feels massive. There are shots that I believe are practical, and it's awesome. Like, there are certain scenes that are just mind blowing. It's even more of a feat that you think about it with the budget of $10 million. They had that budget, and that is an extremely low budget, and it's a feat, really. And again, I still love Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer still, in a way, didn't feel as massive as this. And I do again bring up the Godfather trilogy, because that is the closest comparison in the past 50 years I can make to this film as far as scale. Now, I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Adrien Brody is amazing here. I would maybe even go as say that this is a step up from his performance in The Pianist, which is still wonderful, by the way. I would even say maybe the best performance of the decade thus far. That is to be thought about, to be discussed. There's a few times where, even if the film even feels like it's going to slow down, Adrien Brody keeps this story on its feet at all times. There is not one moment where his performance drags. For me, his performance in particular, he keeps you engaged. And when horrible things happen and certain things that he does happen, you just feel the severity of the things that are happening. Not to go into spoilers. And really, like, there's been a lot of performances this year, and then obviously the nominations are out now, where a lot of those performances, they have those moments where you can really feel the emotion of what's happening. Like in Sing Sing with Coleman Domingo, still a wonderful performance. As you guys know, that was one of my favorite films of the year, as will this now be. But Adrien Brody has that throughout, and none of it feels fake. None of it even really feels like acting. It just feels like you no longer see Adrien Brody after like the first 5 or 10 minutes. You officially see Laszlo Toff. If I said that wrong, I am very sorry. Next, I would like to talk about Guy Pearce. This is also big for him. I've actually, personally, I've never seen Memento. It's been on my list for a very long time. and I've heard he's good in that. This performance, though, granted him his first ever Oscar nom, and there's a reason for that. His character alone, he is so two-faced that you still, at the end of the day, end up hating his character, and that is because of the performance that Guy Pearce gives. There's many different scenes in this film where it's just him looking at our characters in this, almost terrifying way, and it sinks down into your soul that like this guy could snap at any minute, and it's terrifying. I think he excelled. I mean, really, there's a lot to be said, but a lot of it is spoilery, and I will avoid it. I am unfamiliar with Felicity Jones and her career. To be honest, here before I saw the film, I heard a lot of people say that she didn't really give the performance that people thought she was going to give. I really disagree. I think she was excellent, and I mean that Oscar nom is warranted. She really doesn't show up until the second half after the intermission, and she is incredible. I mean, all three performances excelled to a high level. Okay, and I mean, she also has a very difficult role to play. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm referring to probably, and it's hard to probably portray something like that, and she does it really well. I would also love to mention that the score gave me chills so many times throughout the movie that it's just it's so good, man. I mean, I know the Challenger score getting snubbed is a big disappointment, but man, is this score good though, and I'm so happy it got nominated. I mean, for real. If there were one thing there were to nitpick a little bit, and this is really just getting down to the nitpicks for me, the epilogue felt a little rushed and maybe a tad messy. And I know the rumors that have been going around about the epilogue as far as certain elements go. Um, I don't really even see it, to be real. Maybe it's just gotten that good. If you know what I'm referring to, you know what I'm referring to. But I still think the epilogue's good. I don't have that major issues. I just think the epilogue could have been paced a little better because it literally feels like it just flies by, and it kind of leaves you on a high note that I kind of disagree with. That is like really nitpicking it here. One last thing I'll mention, just for word of wise, this movie gets really dark and heavy in the second half. That's not going to work for some. It's obviously uncomfortable at certain parts in the story. Just going knowing that, I don't want to get into spoilers. There are choices made that you might disagree with that I personally just think added to the depths, good or bad, of the characters. Overall, I mean, really, The Brutalist is one of the best films of 2024, in my opinion. I think I love its massive scale, and I think it's handled so well. The characters are both lovable and hateable, accordingly, and the performances are some of the best I've personally seen of the decade so far. And I really hope to see this film awarded for its efforts. Thank you, Brady Corbet, for what you have presented us here. This is a 5 out of 5 movie for me. Check it out. If it's in a theater around you, support this film and what it's doing for filmmaking. All right. Thank you guys all for watching this video or technically listening, switching it up a little bit here. And peace out. Like and subscribe.